Okay, welcome back. We got another show. Cool guest. Not really sure why she's doing it. I'm pretty positive she has better things to do. Actually, I know she has better things to do. She's in the middle of an NBA season. She's got a comedy Netflix show. She's got a Women of Wrestling. She's got a tequila. She's got the Lakers to overtake. She's doing it all. Today we're having Jeanie Buss on the podcast. Super excited about it. Can't wait. Owner, operating governor of the Lakers is about to join us. Phenomenal human. Has kind of started at 17 years old. Is a GM of a tennis team. Has kind of worked her way up through the Lakers. Worked her way up through business. Any woman out there, take notice. I mean, she shows you exactly what you can do. She runs a group of men and tells them exactly what to do, which I love. I think it's inspiring. I think it's great. And she's been on it since day one, since she said she would want to do this podcast. She sent notes. She was on 10 minutes in advance before I even walked in the building, and she's ready to go. So we're going to do it, and we're going to have some fun with her. We're going to ask some questions, and we'll see how it goes. Once again, keep hitting me up about potential guests, what we need to do right and wrong, Instagram, Twitter, and we'll keep rolling along. Here we go. We've got a special guest. Not sure how we got her. Not sure how she makes time. Jeanie, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Your trophies in the background look amazing. Like I told you before, your background is far superior to mine.
It's called a humble brag, just I don't even have to say anything. Just having them kind of in the background, it
for
sure
says
it all.
Absolutely. You guys are in the middle of the season. How are things going?
It's not what we anticipated or planned for, but then again, we haven't been 100% healthy. And that was kind of a risk going into the season with a team that's on the older side, or maybe I like to say less young than the other teams instead of older. But, we haven't had our complete roster healthy and played together. So, once we see that, then we really do know what we have. But for right now, it's kind of like a up and down ride. And, we're used to that in sports, right?
Exactly. And you the way you just talk about it, like you're just such a seasoned vet. I mean, I think you've been in the executive management for, I think, over 40 years.
Yeah, since I was 2, it was really weird I was the first original baby boss, but no, seriously, my dad bought the Lakers in 1979, and his first year with the Lakers, he won a championship. So I was a senior in high school, and it just kind of got in my blood, and it's been a passion for my family for 40 years. Over 40 years.
That's you've seen so many personalities, so many people go through the Lakers. I mean, what was that like as a kid? And I want to get into, I know you were a GM of the tennis organization at 19. I want to get into all that, but like, what was that like growing up in that world in LA of, the whole thing?
It was fabulous. The LA in the 80s, my dad bought the team. The first thing he did was draft a kid by the name of Magic Johnson, which was really unusual at that time because he came out as a hardship case. That's what they used to call it, as a 19-year-old. And a lot of people kind of warned my dad, don't draft someone underage. You don't really know what they're going to be like as a professional. It's a big risk. But my dad knew when he saw Magic play, that's the kind of team that he wanted, a team that played with joy and passion and at breakneck speed, which became the signature for the Lakers, which was called Showtime.
But I mean, Magic was, I mean, Michigan State, I mean, they were in the national championship game and people were still saying, don't draft him.
Absolutely. You know, Sidney Moncrief, who went on to have a great career, was kind of like the sure bet, you know, had completed his 4 years of eligibility in college. So you kind of knew had his man strength. He was ready to walk in and contribute right away to a team. And, you know, but my dad wanted to do things with style. This is Hollywood. And he saw that charisma that Magic had during that NCAA final against Larry Bird.
Yeah, were people saying draft Larry instead of Magic?
Well, you know that this is another weird thing is that Larry, because he transferred, and I don't know, it must have been
He went
a
from
Celtic thing.
he went from IU.
Yeah, he was drafted. Right, he was drafted the previous year and was still able to compete in college, having already been drafted by the Celtics. So that's why it didn't come, even though they started the same year in the NBA, they were two different draft classes. So don't ask me how that works.
Oh, so Larry was already a Celtic, even though he was playing for Indiana State.
I think so. I should probably know that by heart, but in other words, like Larry Bird really wasn't, part of the equation when my dad was making the decision. But he knew he wanted Magic. It really didn't matter, and it was back in those days. The draft wasn't what it is now, where it's a big event. You know, basically they just told you like you've been drafted by the Lakers, and then Magic flew out to LA, and that was the first time they met. My dad had never even met him, but bet the franchise on this kid with the huge smile.
So I'm sure your scouting department is huge. Like, you guys are doing all these things. Like, so back then, like they were just literally just watching kids on TV, and I guess there were probably like beta tapes, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, they had like a system where everybody kind of wrote on the same size note card. So like they gathered all the scouts' notes and went through them. I think scouting has been definitely brought into the modern age with technology, but still scouting has to be by a human being. You can look at all the analytics, but there's so much that needs to be seen, and about watching a player, how they handle pressure, the maturity, the leadership that you see, maybe off camera, on the bench, how they're handling things. All those things are important.
And basketball is a little bit different because I played football. It's like we have helmets on. Everything is, you really can't see the player for the most part. Like you go to the sideline, but it's most of the game. Where basketball, there's only 5 guys out there. It's like all the emotions and all the things that you're seeing, like you can pick up on those, and it's not just an analytical driven game. Like emotions of the game, how they are on the bench, how they interact with people. So. It seems like you've got the scouting thing kind of down a little bit.
Well, you can debate which is most important. To me, it's as much information as you can get, however you get it, and that's the value of scouting.
Absolutely. So, I knew your dad was a smart guy. I did not know that he was a chemist, basically, PhD chemist. And then he worked for aerospace industry and all this stuff basically before age of like 30.
Yeah, he received his PhD from USC at the age of 23. He graduated undergrad at age 19, and you'll appreciate this because he's a mathematical genius, that he had scholarship offers to go to Harvard, Yale, pretty much anywhere he wanted to go, but he chose USC because of the football team.
Oh, wow.
He loved football. And
so he just loves sports.
He loves sports. And, plus he's a really good poker player. So
I saw that. I mean, that's math. He figured that one out.
right, exactly.
So like I read that he got into real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how it kind of all got. And then let's fast forward. Let's just go forward to you. I want to know about you being a GM of a tennis team, age 19 at USC. Like, how did that transpire? Like, were you working alongside him before this? Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I'll back up to, because we talked about him getting his PhD.
Yeah.
And then he went right to work in the aerospace field, working on, the fuel that would take, rockets to space. That was the kind of mathematical mind he had. But he didn't like wearing a tie to work every day. And so he, went on this mission of, how can I make money to live the life that I want to?
Gotcha.
And so with his mind, he realized with real estate that if you, bought an apartment building and you did the work yourself, that, you could save money by, the rents that you charged. And then one apartment turned into 10, turned into, several hundred. And it was the Southern California real estate market in the 60s and 70s just blew up. So he created a huge amount of wealth in a short amount of time. But, his love was sports. So when the opportunity came up for him to not only buy the Lakers, but also the NHL Kings hockey team and the arena that they played in, the Forum in Inglewood. And, so our family business went from real estate development to sports and entertainment kind of overnight. And, my dad, being, the smart guy that he is, decided, to put his kids to work. And he asked if, he had owned a tennis team at one time. So I was around tennis a lot. And when you own an arena, there's, 365 days in a year. And when you have a hockey team and a basketball team, that's about 100 nights. Yeah. So there's still over 200 nights a year that you got to fill it. So my dad just threw whatever, he could think of, whatever new events were out there. And he asked if I wanted to run a tennis team. And it was just a short season, about 4 weeks during the summer break. So it didn't interfere with school. But the first thing I said was, great, now I can quit school, because I was in USC. And he's like, no, you have to go to school. You can have the job, but you have to go to school, or you can just go to school. You have to finish your education.
What were you studying?
Business administration.
Sure.
I was always fascinated. I really thought I would be in the real estate business, because that was what, we were exposed to growing up, and I was fascinated with that. But then I, pivoted, just like the rest of the family, to sports and entertainment. So, my dad, I promoted volleyball, roller hockey, indoor soccer.
I was going to ask about roller hockey next.
Oh, okay.
You were all over it.
Arena football team, because at the Forum, because it was an older building, our scoreboard was center hung. So we couldn't get the clearance that you needed for arena football. So we never actually had an arena football team at the Forum, but I wanted to try. I was fascinated with that.
Are you RSVPing yes this holiday? Express has you covered with outfits for every single invite. Express is that perfect mix of confidence-boosting styles and comfort for every occasion this holiday season. Check out their suits available in plaid, flannel, luxe comfort fabrics, and more. Perfect for everything from swanky holiday parties to festive weddings. Or maybe you need a winter jacket. Express has a killer line of flannel jackets, sharp blazers, handsome bombers, and more. And those flannel jackets are so warm and the perfect layer for all my holiday fits. And of course, you can match any style style with jeans, dress pants, or chinos. The Express Flex X jeans are the most flexible denim yet, with a comfort stretch waist. So what are you waiting for? RSVP yes this holiday. Unwrap festive new styles, holiday deals, and more at express.com or in stores. Do you, I think you do, you have siblings?
Yes, I do. I have 2 older brothers, a younger sister, and 2 younger half brothers. And so we're all kind of involved in the business. Certainly, it's well known that I had a conflict with my brother.
Sure. We don't get into that.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, it's
fine.
It's fact. We've moved on. We're good.
Yeah.
And my job is to run the Lakers and make the shareholders a nice profit every year.
You seem to do that. Were you always close with your dad?
Yeah, I mean, we had a really close, when I grew up, my parents split, and so I didn't get a lot of time with my dad. But as soon as I graduated from high school, I went to live with them.
Sorry, how old were you when they split?
Probably in 6th grade, so 11 or 12. And, so when I had the opportunity at 17, I moved in with him, and, it was just going to be for the summer, but then I started USC in the fall, and he said, why don't you just stay here with me? And we were having a lot of fun. He had just bought the Lakers, so going to events. I wouldn't go to a hockey game just because. Well, I was afraid to get hit by a puck. My only experience with hockey before my dad buying the team was seeing the movie Slapshot.
Okay.
And I thought that's what happened when you went to games, is that you get hit by a puck. So he finally got me to go to a game, and I fell in love with the sport. So, we were just having a lot of fun and new experiences with, overnight, my dad became a well-known figure in LA, and the celebrity lifestyle was, real, and the Forum Club was the place to be.
Did you know that you were in that world at that time, at that age, or was it just like surreal? Like looking back on it now, you're like, hey, like I was just living my life and this kind of happened, or was it something that like in your brain was like, hey, like this is happening, this is fun, let me relish in it a little bit?
It was, it's still surreal to me. Living this life, and, meeting the people that I do, but, really LA is a small town. It sounds big, but Hollywood is,
it's tiny,
small, and we're connected. And, these are, some of the hardest working, most talented people that you could imagine. And entertainment just happens to be our industry.
That's true. That's very true. So you went from tennis to roller hockey.
I did it all. You literally... My dad, even in the 80s, my dad sent me to then the Soviet Union to try to bring the Moscow circus to Los Angeles. And, I was like 25, 26 years old, flying to Russia to meet with the cultural minister. I mean, it blows my mind that I guess when you're that young, you're not really afraid of anything, because you really don't know what to be afraid of.
Fearless.
But yeah, you're fearless. And so my dad showed a lot of confidence in me. And I think that helped to have a father who would empower me, really made me a capable, strong businesswoman.
Did you know that you were kind of being groomed that way, or was it like, did you know, or was that what you wanted to do, and like he just provide avenues, or like was just?
Well, I always wanted to work in the family business. It wasn't never like, okay, I want to someday run the Lakers. It was, I just did whatever my dad needed to be done. And there was a time frame after I promoted all these sports teams that then my dad named me the general manager and president of the arena, the Forum. So all of a sudden I went from, putting on events to being the venue manager and interacting with promoters, which really it's a whole different side of the business that helped me, as we moved to Staples Center and became a tenant in someone else's building, um, that the talent, the experience of running the forum was so valuable, and dealing with unions really helped me hone my skills, and it's very helpful for the position that I'm in now.
I mean, it sounds like you kind of got a real life experience of how to run I mean, let's call it $1 billion organization from the age of 19 until probably 35 in a real life capacity.
And well, my dad really had a way, he was such a good teacher, such a good mentor. He had a way of breaking things down to make them very simple. And, he kind of had a formula of how he ran the Lakers. And, I learned from him. And I think by showing that I had a passion for the job and for the business, and that I made the contacts that I did, and over the years. But I think I knew that I was being groomed for this position when the WNBA was first announced, 25 years ago or so. David Stern went to my dad and said, naturally, Jerry, you're going to have Jeanie run the LA team for the WNBA.
Yeah.
And my dad said, no, Jeanie's going to run the Lakers someday.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay. But, so my oldest brother, Johnny, was put in charge of the team and came up with what I think is one of the great names in sports, the Sparks.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was many years ago. So, but I would have done whatever my dad asked me to do. Like this wasn't my end goal.
Sure.
It was about gaining experience and doing all the things that lead up, so that when you're in a position like this, that you kind of know what every department does and what every person does and the role that they play. And
Well,
that
I
was
mean,
important.
you being so willing to do that is probably why you ended up in the spot you're in now.
I like to think so, but it always hasn't been perfect. But we're, in management, you're always being challenged, and there's new challenges that you can't even anticipate, and it's how you react to them and the team that you build around you.
Oh, it's all about the team. I get that. So 19 years old, you're the GM of a tennis team. You're roller hockey executive of the year in 93. You're executive VP of business operations 99. And then 13, 14, you're president of the Lakers.
Not so bad, huh?
Not so bad at all. Were you ever, whenever you took over the Lakers, were you ever like, oh my goodness, can I do this? Or was it just, I got this?
Yeah, the way my dad had set it up and how he wanted it to be was that I would run the business side of the operation and my brother Jimmy would run the basketball side.
Okay.
And, I had some concerns, and my dad, he said, he goes, Jeanie, I expect you to, if things aren't working, I expect you to make changes as necessary. And I've given you the authority to do so. And, had things gone smoothly, I would never have had to use the authority that he had given me.
Sure.
But the way my brother was running the basketball team, I couldn't see a path for us as to where we were going. When you change coaches every 18 months, a roster can't switch. Like we had good coaches, like Mike Brown was a fantastic coach, but very defensive minded.
Okay.
Then they brought in Mike D'Antoni, who's a really good coach, but very
Offense.
offensive minded. But our roster couldn't adjust quickly enough to give either coach the roster that they would want to accomplish their game plan. So it just seemed like we had a revolving door, and I leaned on Magic Johnson. I leaned on Kobe Bryant, and said, what do you guys see? How, am I, we're not making the playoffs in the 30 plus years that my dad ran the team. They'd only missed the playoffs twice.
Really?
And that once was right after Magic Johnson retired because of HIV.
Yeah.
So the organization really wasn't ready for that because it was so sudden. So, and here we were year after year not making the playoffs, and it just wasn't the same product that my dad had created and that our fans had come to expect. And, a person like Magic Johnson and a person like Kobe Bryant, when the Lakers don't do well, it's a reflection on them too, because they're lifetime Lakers. And so, they shared with me what they thought, and that kind of matched, my view of the situation. So a change had to be made. And really, one of the things that I said after the change was made was that maybe I had waited too soon to make it. And, and so that's why I say I'm not perfect in how I do things. I'm human too, but I do know what my dad wanted us to accomplish with this team. And that's the path that I wanted to put the team on once again.
I think basketball might be a little bit different, but in my experience, like, owners aren't generally that vocal with players. And it seems like you are, in an honest way, to the players that matter. And it's a different perspective, I'm sure, you get from them. How did you learn? How did you come about that? Did you learn it? Was your dad like that? Because I don't think that's the norm, and you get a 100% different perspective than probably you see from 10,000 feet above.
That's exactly the way my dad was. He was unusual that way, and it was remarkable. But also for me, the experience of my 17-year relationship with Phil Jackson, and watching how he treated a player as a human being, not just on the basketball court, but the holistic view of the individual, and how to, bring together a group of individuals to create that team environment. Mm-hmm. And for me, that was such a valuable experience to see through the coach's eyes that journey that a team goes on, and, the kind of bar that he set for accomplishment. And, when he and I first started dating, my dad had brought Phil in the fall of 1999. And when my dad
where was Phil at then?
Well, he had taken a year off. Like the Bulls, the last dance was 97, I guess.
Yep.
And then there was a lockout, a shortened season, because there was a lockout, and he sat out that season. That was the year that the Spurs won the championship, and Phil he kind of attached the asterisk to it.
Yeah, Tim Duncan and Admiral. Yeah. How'd you guys meet?
Well, when my dad said he was going to hire Phil Jackson, I said, I was like, Dad, why would you want to do that? We already have these two big personalities in Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant.
Who was the coach then?
The coach had been Del Harris.
Okay.
Shaq and Kobe came in the summer of '96. Shaq as a free agent, and Kobe was drafted to the team. And he was actually drafted by Charlotte, and we traded Vlade Divac to get Kobe. So Del Harris coached the team, and they lost in the second round, I think 3 years in a row. And that's not what my dad wanted. He wanted to win a championship. So they let Del Harris go, and he pursued Phil Jackson, who was a free agent. And, and I, against my advice, but what did I really know? And then
Why were you against it?
Because I just felt that Phil was going to kind of put his personality, or, try to, Shaq was, I kind of like to say he was like the eighth wonder of the world. Like,
he was a immovable force.
Exactly. Like, and at that time I was in charge of the Lakers preseason. And so meaning when we had Shaq, we had Lakers across America basically. Yeah. And so we played in all these cities that now have NBA teams. We took the Lakers to play in Memphis, then they got a team. We took the Lakers to play in New Orleans, and then they got a team. And we were actually the first event ever in the Oklahoma City arena.
Really?
But anywhere Shaq went, people just couldn't get over his ability, his athletic ability on these size 22 feet. You know, it was just amazing. Anyway, so the expectation was we should be a championship team with this kind of talent.
Sure.
And so finally the pivot to hiring Phil, and I was afraid that Phil was going to take away that, just explosive personality, Shaq, the lovable Shaq. And,
but he let Mike do his thing.
What do I know? That's when my dad did listen to me. I was very happy about that. But, so I literally went to the Phil Jackson press conference, and you can see me rolling my eyes like, oh, this is, because we couldn't even, the amount of media attention, we had to move it to the Beverly Hills Hotel ballroom.
Sure.
Because it wouldn't fit in our just regular press room at the, forum, because, he was larger than life. So I didn't meet him till a few months later. And as soon as I met him, it was his voice just, it made me sit straight up. I don't know. It was amazing. And I didn't know if he was married. I didn't know what his situation was. And I had found out that he and his wife were separated. And, we spent some time together. And I basically said to him, and I think this is important for anybody who's dating in the workplace. I said to Phil, there's something here, and if we're going to date, then it has to come with full disclosure to the organization, because we could really put people in awkward positions and burn the trust of everybody if we're keeping secrets. I'm not interested in keeping secrets. So, I had to sit down with my dad and tell him that this relationship was beginning. And
how'd that go?
I was worried about it, but of course my dad, in, the most loving way, always thinking of me first as his daughter, not as a person working for him. He said, I've always thought you should date someone older than you, because then he would really appreciate you. And I'd been married and divorced, and, I really was at that point in my career where I was working. That was my ambition, spending all the time. I wasn't really having a social life. So Phil and I just met right at the right time. And, my dad, of course, was supportive of it. And I think that's, if I can be the poster child for mixing business and pleasure, like, really don't keep things a secret. And if it's something worth pursuing, then do so in a way that doesn't compromise you professionally.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, honesty is probably usually the best option, and especially in business. And I mean, I'm sure that actually, I mean, I know that you guys both had enough respect in the organization. Like, people would realize, hey, this isn't just some off the cuff relationship. Like, this is something real, and they probably appreciated it.
Yeah. I mean, and it made our relationship stronger. Absolutely.
Was trading? I mean, because I know Vlade was probably loved in L.A. Was trading him out of there for Kobe? I mean, was that? I mean, that's. I mean, obviously one of the best trades probably in the history of the NBA. But was that hard at that moment?
Well, looking back on it, it turned out the right way, but
Sure.
certainly it was a risk. But it was putting the pieces together so that they could pursue Shaq as a free agent.
Hmm.
And so we had to trade our big man, so that we could create the space under the cap to bring in Shaq. And so it was a risk, but it worked out. But going back to Vlade Divac, um, we are in the middle of producing a Lakers documentary that will encompass the Buss family ownership of the team. And, I looking back at Vlade and how special he was, Kareem retired,
Yeah.
and now the Lakers needed their next big man. And, you know, the Lakers, consistently being in the playoffs meant we were never drafting in the top
Yeah.
10. And so Vlade was we got him at the 25th pick because it was uncertain whether his country would allow him to participate because, they were, you have to spend X amount of years in the military once you reach a certain age. And, so teams didn't like to take risks like that on foreign born players. And so Vlade was really one of the, first Europeans to make a big mark in the NBA. It's so commonplace now that you forget how unusual it was for Vlade. And, of course, LA fans just loved him, our big teddy bear. And, great player.
And it's still a personality, and it's right. Like you guys have had so many big personalities in LA, and I mean, I don't think that you necessarily attract them. I mean, like people go there, like LeBron went there for certain reasons, and people go there. But like you've also, I mean, developed some of these guys and traded for some of these guys and drafted some of these guys that kind of just fit this role of this personalities that I don't know if it's just because it's on TV more or what, but it just seems to be drawn to the Lakers in a good way.
Yeah, I mean it's a platform that if you work hard and you're talented, our fans are gonna embrace you, and but we like to spoil our Laker fans with a lot of success and hopefully championships, and they don't appreciate players who don't work hard
Mm-hmm.
or appreciate the putting on a Laker jersey and following in the footsteps of so many beloved Lakers.
The documentary is different from the Netflix show, correct?
Yeah,
All right,
we got yeah.
we'll get into that in a minute, but I just wanted to clarify that. But we'll fast forward. You're the first, I guess, female. I think the technical term is governor, but
Yes.
I would say owner. First female owner, governor, however NBA classifies it, to win a championship.
Yes.
How hard? I mean, amazing. Congratulations. How hard was it being a woman in that industry? I mean, but you started like you're almost a pioneer of the GM woman world in the sports, in all the sports, probably in the world. I'm sure there's no one else that started at 17 as a GM the way you have and grown into it. I would be hard pressed. Actually, guarantee doesn't exist.
Well, it's there's all different paths for
Sure.
people to get to this position. And when we use the word governor, there's several owners, right, of the team, but there can only be one governor, and that's a position that the NBA recognizes on each team can only have one governor, so that there isn't conflict, that there's only one voice that's speaking on behalf of the team. So that's why you have that distinction.
And that's you.
And that's me.
Yes.
And, of course, back in the 80s, Georgia Frontier, was the head of the Rams, but she inherited her position because her husband, and I inherited my position because of my father and my family. So, I think that, everybody takes a different path to get to where they are. And my particular path was, taking over the family business. But I was just really honored to have that designation as first female, because I know what it meant for me at a young age to see women in positions of power. And I know that I will perhaps inspire the next Jeanie Buss. And when people say, oh, she's the first woman, all I can think of is like, who's going to be the next one? Who's going to take the mantle from here? And, so it's an honor. And I like to quote, Billie Jean King had a great quote about how important it was to see a woman leading men, because we wouldn't have a female president of the United States until people realize that women can lead women,
Sure.
but they can lead men as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I will say this to your credit. I realized that your dad started it, but I mean, I went to Vanderbilt, so I know trust fund babies. I get the whole world. Like, you were probably, you were 17 years old. I mean, you were working. You did everything under the sun to get to this point. So it's not like you were like, hey, I'm 30. Like, let me just stop in here and do this. Like, you started at a very young age, working your ass off and creating this, this timeline of where you're at today. So, I mean, I give credit to you. Like, it was a circumstance of events, but it was also earned at the same route.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, but I mean, mind you, I had fun the entire way, and it was never about the end goal. It was always the journey and like experiencing these things with my family, with my dad,
Sure.
And certainly I think, the relationship with Phil and the championships that we won while he was the coach. And, it's just, I've had these great experiences.
Well, that's what makes it fun. That's probably why it's not work, and it's just you enjoy coming every single day.
Exactly.
All right, let's fast forward. I think you probably have better things to do, like running the Lakers. But let's fast forward real quick. I got a couple questions about things happening now. Big off season for you guys. Russell, Carmelo, Trevor, LeBron's hurt. Frank's trying to figure it all out. Where do we stand here? What can Laker fans? What do we need to know?
I feel like until we can see our entire roster healthy and how Frank puts them together, it's hard to judge. And it's not going to be a smooth sail to the finals like a lot of people talked about in the off season. But I have faith in the leadership of LeBron James, and hoping that he is healthy sooner than later, and that he stays healthy. And we knew that because we've got a less young team.
But it's one of those things. I've been in older teams. Like, you guys just need to get hot at the end. Keep yourself in it. Get everyone healthy. Be hot at the end. It all comes together, and it just works. Like, you just need to get there. You just need to get there.
Thank you. I need to hire you as my spokesman, so
you
can call me everybody's fears.
I can help you out. Like, you guys are way too talented. You're too deep. You've got veterans that have been there. Listen, guys, keep it together. Just keep us in it till the end. Let's get healthy and hot at the back half of the season. Carry it through the playoffs, and I'm not sure who beats you guys at some point in the playoffs, but It'd be hard. It'd be hard as hell, but we'll see what
I think
happens, obviously.
Golden State looks pretty good.
Well, it's early. It's early. And
I
like you
know.
said, you guys aren't healthy. I mean, you're not working really that well as a team. You're still figuring each other out. It's hard for a lot of some of these old guys to work like that, especially with a Russ who's been one-on-one all the time. LeBron's a giver, so he can figure it out. Carmelo's trying to figure it out. Trevor's a team player. Like, all these dudes got to figure it out, and they're old enough and they're veteran enough that they will. You just got to stay in it long enough that you give yourself a shot.
Right. And you know, you don't want to squander an opportunity when you have somebody like LeBron James
Oh, yeah.
on your team.
You got to maximize
gotta-
it every single year.
Right.
So if that means getting some older dudes and giving yourself a chance, that's what it means, because the clock's ticking real fast. But to that point, LeBron, you said LeBron can play as long as he wants. And he did say that he wants to play along his son, who is, where is he? Is he a junior now or sophomore?
I think he's a junior, but I'm not sure. But you know, I shouldn't be talking about players, but you know, underage players. But like, certainly, I remember in the NHL when Gordie Howe played alongside his son Mark Howe, and it was cool.
Ken Griffey Jr. played alongside his dad in baseball.
So right, okay, so there's these examples that
Sure.
you know it would be really amazing. Plus,
Pretty cool.
you know, his son is quite an athlete, so
Well, we don't want to we don't want to tamper with that, so I'll let it go. I don't want to get you in trouble. If you work out a lot like I do, then you're probably familiar with creatine. But don't settle for the giant tubs of junk they sell you everywhere. You need creatine that actually works in small doses, and that's Concrete. Concrete is the only microdose creatine that is able to provide all the strength and endurance benefits of creatine without any of the negative side effects like bloating or cramps. Science has long known that creatine is needed to help fuel every cell in the body. That includes the immune system, to fight serious disease, the muscles to increase greater strength, and even the brain to increase and improve memory, mental processing, and focus. Concrete is the gift of better health, focus, fitness, and immunity this holiday season. It's a perfect stocking stuffer available at Walmart and Walmart.com. Enter to win a free membership to Planet Fitness for an entire year plus a $500 gift card. Take better control of your health, body, and mind. Get Concrete into your life today. Register at concrete.com/podcasts. That's CON-CRET.com/podcasts. Available now at Walmart and Walmart.com. Concrete is truly changing the fitness and health game. Go to concrete.com/podcast. You talked about the documentary, which is different. Do you want to say more about that? When's that coming out?
Yeah, it's scheduled to come out next year. I'm not exactly sure, but it's in partnerships with Hulu, and it will be you know, not our version of The Last Dance, but it's multiple episodes, 9 episodes. But it's like the true story of, you know, the Lakers history, starting when Dr. Buss bought the team, and kind of how much the team mirrors what's happening in the city.
Okay.
And just all the things that have gone on, and these moments in time that you know, if you love the Lakers, you're gonna want to relive some of them. You're going to learn things that you never knew about the team before, and it's just a deep dive into our history. And the interviews that we have are, we got so many great voices like Pat Riley.
Almost too many.
Almost too many, but certainly there's some that we'll miss, like my dad, like Chick Hearn, like Kobe. Mm-hmm. But it will be a time to reflect on all this greatness that has come through.
How many episodes is it going to be?
It's 9 episodes.
I don't think it's enough. I mean, I grew up a Bulls fan. All my family is from Northern Indiana, right outside Chicago. So I grew up a Bulls fan. But like the Lakers and you guys and your dad and you, like this is literally a 30, 40-year journey of damn near excellence at certain periods.
And how great was The Last Dance, just to watch that and kind of relive all of those. And that was only one season, but you wanted more episodes. They could have kept going, could have watched the whole season of, just that season. And of course, Michael is amazing. So
you guys are also doing a show recreating the manager or the upper level of the Lakers with kind of like The Office, Minnie Kaling from The Office, comedy for Netflix. How about the Lakers front office?
Yeah, it's it will be fictional, but certainly inspired by a family that owns a team, and it's a comedy, and it's a relatable comedy because it's everybody's works in an office, and kind of what happens. It just happens to be about a sports team, and it's been a lot of fun working with Mindy. She's a creative genius. And she loves basketball, which a lot of people would be surprised. So
I did not know that.
It's marrying her to loves of basketball and comedy. And I've always been a proponent for humor and how humor helps us process so many things. It helps us talk about things that maybe are uncomfortable.
It's a uniter.
Exactly. So right. So,
are you writing? Are you producing? Are you have a role?
I'm not in it. I am a producer on the show, and we have a agreement with Netflix, but I can't give you when we'll start filming or who the cast is going to be. It's still being developed.
Sounds fun though.
Yeah.
And then, you're all over the map, which probably I guess that's probably par for the course for you. And then you're the owner of WOW, Women of Wrestling.
Yes. And let me talk a little bit about WOW. WOW is my passion project. It, I knew that, to give a person like me in my position.
One real quick question. Why wrestling? And then you can go.
Okay. Wrestling is something that has proven itself as a product that people will buy tickets for and watch on television.
Sure.
And so, here I am, a woman in my position. I invest my own dollars. This is not a Laker project. This is, my passion project. And, to give opportunities to women athletes. Okay. So I figured that because of Title IX, there are so many female athletes now that play college sports. And unless you are going to be a professional tennis player or a golfer, there's not a lot of places that you can go, or in the WNBA.
Well,
right? There's no place.
But WNBA, you probably make more money playing tennis or golf than
right.
WNBA.
Oh yeah, but at least you could have a job. And perform in front of your family and friends.
Yes.
So what could you do that would, that there's a market for, that there's fans of wrestling. So my partner is the one who is David McLean, who started the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow, which inspired the show that was on Netflix called Glow. And what I love about it is that it's character driven. So the women are characters, and they, it's like they're like superheroes. They fight and for what they believe in, whether it's right or wrong, but they stand up for what they believe in. And it's women fighting their own battles against other women. It isn't a woman running to a man to save them, right? So I just felt that it kind of hit all the notes that I wanted to. And we just signed a multi-year agreement with CBS
CBS,
Viacom
Yep.
to produce our shows for some of their different platforms. So we're going to launch in September of 2022, but we have some of our archived episodes that will start airing in December on Pluto.
Sounds amazing.
It's
How do
fun
you
as
find
heck.
how do you find the time for all this?
Well, I mean, I don't run it on a day-to-day basis, but I just women, a lot of times are the sideshow.
Yeah.
They don't get to be center stage, and I want women to know what that feels like to be center stage and to perform
I love
and
that.
do what.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. I'm all in support of that. And like I said before, like you're basically the pioneer of women in the sports field of just literally just doing anything possible. I mean, no one else has done what you've done over time.
Well, thank you. But like there's been women who were before me, and
For
a
sure.
great example is Billie Jean King. And I'll never forget when I was 11 or 12 years old, and Billie Jean King played Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes match.
Yep.
And I didn't know anything about sports then. I had my dolls or whatever, and my dad said, I want you to come over here and watch this. And he had the match on television. And he said, I want you to remember this moment because this is going to change the world. And,
He had some
it's
foresight.
those kind of things. Right.
Yeah. But like you've been the first woman that's basically presided over a group of men, and like you pioneered that world in the sports field.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that I've earned that respect. So
Without a doubt.
It really doesn't matter about gender. It's about doing, making the right decisions and doing a good job.
Which you've done. All right, finally, you also have a tequila. Goodness.
Well, there, just to talk about Cincoro, which is the tequila. And what happened was, about 4 or 5 years ago, I sit on the labor committee for the NBA. And when you're in those kind of discussions, negotiations, you're meeting a lot. And so there was a group of us on the committee that realized that we all had this fondness for tequila. And we just said, I wish we could find one that tasted like this or that.
Sure.
And we decided, hey, why don't we just try to create our own tequila that we would want to drink?
Makes sense.
And so it's Wick Grousbeck, who is the governor of the Boston Celtics, and then Wes Edens, who's co-owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, and Michael Jordan with the Charlotte Hornets.
So you're with a bunch of slapdicks. Got it.
And Wick's wife, Amelia, is our CEO, and she's fantastic. And what we thought was just going to be kind of a fun project for us we've sold over 1 million bottles in less than, we've been selling for about a little over 2 years. And certainly during the last dance, people saw Michael had a glass of tequila next to him.
Yeah.
And that kind of got people talking. And certainly during the pandemic, we were able to pivot very quickly to e-commerce and sell our brand online. But it's been a really fun project. And really the thought is that instead of shooting tequila, which everybody's used to from college days, or at least that's how it was when I was in college.
You sip it.
To sip tequila, to enjoy it. And it's really, it's delicious. And because it comes from the agave plant, you don't get those like crashes from the
insulin
sugar.
and sugars. Yep.
So
All on board. So basically, most everything you touch right now is turning to gold. So we see anyone listening, anything that she's doing, probably invest or somehow become a fan of because it's working.
Thank you. I appreciate that plug. Again, you should be my spokesman.
Anytime you need me. I think I've taken up enough of your time. I appreciate it. I know you're super busy. Obviously, we talked about all the things you have going on. I wish you guys the best of luck with Lakers, show, tequila, the wrestling, and I'm sure you probably have a million other projects. But thank you very, very much. It's been fun.
Well, thank you for taking the time to learn about what I do and ask the questions.
You're amazing. You're an inspiration to many, especially women and men alike. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. She was better than I could have imagined, and I imagined her being great, and she was better than that. So humble, so amazing. And that's why, she's probably as successful and amazing as she is. Worked her tail off from the age of probably 14 on. Didn't take anything for granted, and she's doing amazing things. So was never really a Lakers fan. Kind of am now, just to kind of cheer her on and be a champion for her because she's doing everything right. So hope you enjoyed it. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. We're still rolling along. We got some good guests kind of through the holidays and into the new year, but always looking for your input to see what you want. So thank you. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can listen and chime in and let us know. Thanks. That's a wrap.